In this video, we're going to go over calorie banking option number 2, which is planning for event, or also known as calorie robbing. Now, being a flexible dieter or counting macros as such, this is where the benefits as far as freedom and flexibility or planning for particular events comes in. Is that I would rather my clients or someone go into an event with a plan of attack rather than none at all. And also, you're always looking at dieting strategies as ones that you would see yourself doing indefinitely. It is very important that you do not limit or take out social events altogether due to your dieting experience. So therefore, I believe it's very important to have a couple of plans of attack in order to get the best out of your dieting experience and of course promote adherence. A good diet is one you can stick to, so I believe these types of options, passing them on or advising them for my clients, is absolutely fantastic and helps sanity weekly and adherence most of all. So we're going to use Barry once again for our example right here. Now Barry, let's say on a Saturday evening, he has planned for a work function which he knows food and alcohol is going to be relatively plentiful. Now, Barry, as we know, as stated here, is on 180 grams of protein, 60 grams of fat, and 200 grams of carbs, just over the 2,000 calorie mark. Again, it's not really low and it's not really high, but this is Barry in a dieting period. Now, Barry wanted to allocate some extra funds or extra budget for his evening because he wanted to really enjoy his meal with his co-workers, let's just say, and also some alcoholic beverages. So let's get some clarity as far as what I've written down here to explain what's going on. It all comes from the day before the event, being the Friday, and the day after the event being the Sunday. Now, I would normally advise 20 to 30% and no more, because that's where hunger cravings and issues can come into it, of course. But we're going to take 20 to 30% of fats and carbohydrates from the day before, and 20 to 30% of fats and carbohydrates from the day after the event, which spill into the Saturday event itself. So what I've done here is I've calculated a 20% takeoff of fats on the Friday and a 20% subtraction of carbohydrates on the Friday. Plain and simple, this leaves Barry with 180 grams of protein to consume that day, 48 grams of fat, and 160 grams of carbohydrates, which is his normal macros minus the 20% of fats and carbs, because he's going to budget those calories into the Saturday event. On the Sunday, it's pretty much duplicated as far as the strategy on the Friday. Normally 180 grams of protein, 60 grams of fat, and 200 grams of carbs. Let's take 20% of the fats and 20% of the carbohydrates, which will leave Barry consuming the same as what he did on Friday, being 180 grams of protein, 20% less in fats, leaving you with 48 grams of fat, and 20% less in carbs, leaving you with 160 grams of carbs. Now 20% from Sunday and 20% from Friday being the day before spills 40% of extra fat and extra carbohydrates that Barry has to play with on the Saturday for his event. So this would leave Barry now with 180 grams of protein, 84 grams of fat, and 280 grams of carbs. So it's a considerable amount more than what Barry is used to, and it gives him a little bit of leeway as far as planning for the evening event. In this case, these are only examples, but let's just pull meal 1 and meal 2 relatively light on. A little bit of protein, low in fat, low in carbs, let's say an egg white omelette, or a nice protein and salad meal. Now, again, The reason why I have advised 3 meals is if you're spreading it out over 5 or even 6, it doesn't leave much for those meals as far as calories to work with or macros to work with. So I believe have a larger meal for breakfast, a larger meal for lunch, which are still light on in this scenario, leaving you with plenty of banked calories for meal number 3. And in this case, meal 1 and meal 2 plus meal 3 will equal this up here as far as Barry's budgeted amount of macros. So 120 grams of protein, 64 grams of fat, and 260 grams of carbs is plenty for Barry to play with, that he can enjoy himself, not feel guilty, keeps him sane, and he doesn't feel like he's missing out on terribly much throughout his dieting experience. So guys, that is basically option number 2, planning for an event when you need to allocate extra calories. So for someone like Barry who's on moderate calories, again, it really gives them quite a bit of freedom and flexibility through that time. My advice is through here, if the hunger gets all too much, you can bump those meals up that little bit more, which will leave a little bit less through meal number 3. Again, it comes down to trial and error, but the same concept needs to be implemented, but you can have a little bit of a play around with the way you're going to work your macros as well. Some people rob 30% from the day before and the day after. Again, going too high or too extreme, you can be prone to binging or having uncontrollable hunger cravings as well. So that is something you do need to keep on top of. So calorie banking option number 2, again, another great strategy. There are many other strategies that you can use, but this is about being smart and sensible whilst attending particular social events that may be a little bit of a roadblock if you weren't planning ahead. So plan ahead, guys. There's option number 2. I hope it helped.